In spite of destructive hurricanes, the global pandemic, economic challenges, social ills we face, we as a people still find a way to rise like a phoenix from ashes. We are Rhodes Scholars, NBA and WNBA superstars, best-selling authors, world-renowned surgeons, playwrights, Olympians, international champions in sports and academics, top chefs and mixologists, CEOs and business executives, award-winning fashion designers, photographers, filmmakers, artists, artisans, brand leaders, creators, inventors, but most of all, defiers of the odds. Do not ever for a second doubt the fact that this is the greatest little nation in the world. Following a year of public engagement, focus groups, keen discussions, pollings, and submissions, we've created what we believe to be one of the best celebrations the Bahamas has ever seen.
Good morning, media colleagues, those joining us via the stream, our guests in the room. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing. We have an exciting briefing planned for you today with a full slate, full lineup of exciting speakers. Right now, I'm going to introduce Press Secretary Clint Watson, who is going to come and introduce those speakers to you.
Thank you, Julian. Good morning, colleagues. Welcome to another briefing update here at the Office of the Prime Minister. We are indeed delighted for those of you who are joining us on television or streaming, and those of you who are in the room. A couple of things we want to be able to talk about this morning in our briefing, and of course to give you an update on what's happening on our borders with immigration and the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. We will talk to those officials to find out, just to give us an understanding of what they're doing with the illegal migration or regular migration concerns on our borders. And then, of course, in light of what has been transpiring in the media over the past few days, we want to talk to some of the officials at the Princess Margaret Hospital to talk about blood donation and blood transfusion, that kind of thing, to give us an understanding of how the process works and how you can contribute and how you can help to what the cause is really. And then, of course, we have a couple of announcements to give to you, and in our vendors, highlights are back this week, and so we're excited to highlight them. So quite a bit to get to, and so we'll just get started. I want to first off invite the Commodore of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, Commodore Raymond King, to come, and he will be followed by the Assistant Director of Immigration, Rudolph Ferguson, to address what's going on with our borders, how they're dealing and handling the matter, and take any questions that you may have regarding that. Commodore King.
Thank you. Pleasant good morning, ladies and gentlemen, colleague. Commodore Raymond King, Commander of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. The intent this morning is to give you an overview of the migration trends and the countermeasures being used from a general perspective, and I'll be more specific with the most recent interception and landing in South Andrews. With respects to trends, mixed nationalities. What we have in the Bahamas right now, we have mixed nationalities from Central and South America. Those countries, they come into the country legitimately on visas. As and before their visas expire, they migrate to Bimini, Grand Bahama. Some maneuver from here in New Providence, from places like Sand Trap, Jaws Beach, and they're smuggled into the Florida coast. That is something that is ongoing. We're working closely with the United States Coast Guard We have and we continue to dedicate assets to the Northern Bahamas to assist with patrolling the Florida Straits to counter that migration aspect. With the southwestern Bahamas, specifically the Cubans, there are some push and pull factors. With the Cubans, has to do with the conditions politically and economically in Cuba. They're faced with high unemployment, scarcity in terms of food, medicine, and the sanctions being imposed on them by the United States. That is a push factor. A pull factor is Title 42, which is a health law that the United States government is contemplating removing. Thereby, those persons could have an opportunity to asylum hearing. And so that is pulling the Cubans. How it affects the Bahamas? They're using the key sal banks, the Damas Keys, Elbow Key, and Griller Key in most cases as staging areas. This is an organized smuggling ring, what we consider to be a transnational criminal organization. And we have vessels coming in from the coast of Florida, picking these persons up and smuggling them into the United States. As with respect to the Haitians, again, southwestern Bahamas, the trends. The Haitians now are moving along the northern border of Haiti, moving closely along the northern coast of Cuba, along the old Bahama Channel. In most cases, they're staying in the Cuban territorial seas, and they're seeking to move across the United States. That's one trend. Again, the push factors, Haiti is basically a failed state right now, economically, politically, and socially. That is driving them under health crisis. They, as well, seek the opportunity to have asylum hearing, given the cause of what is occurring in Haiti at the moment. And so that's a pull factor for them. There's another factor called the parole visa program by the US government that creates the opportunity for persons to apply for visa, be able to enter the United States for a foreseeable period until their status can be determined. Those are some of the pull factors. The Haitians, in most cases, they are heading towards the United States, but we still have cases whereby periodically they would aim for the Bahamas. We've done an effective job stemming them along the traditional route that they would take along the western end of Great Inagua, past Castle Island, up along the Exuma Keys. We've responded to the movement along the eastern seaboard using those American-type sailboats to clandestine their efforts and moving towards Eleuthera and Abaco. But we are paying attention now, which appears to be a random selection of islands. We believe, and it correlates with the environmental conditions being faced at the time, even though the intelligence suggests what their destination is. Environmental factors play a significant impact in terms of what happens. There was an event at the southeastern tip of Great Inagua recently. That vessel was destined for TCI, Turks and Caicos Islands, but weather condition forced it to the southeastern tip of Great Inagua. There was an incident at Little Ragged Island. That vessel was also destined for the United States, but that was when that strong cold front came through, when temperatures really dipped. And when you have those strong cold fronts, the weather comes from the western quadrant. And so if they're moving along, hoping to move northwestwards, they are now pushed to the east. And if I could recall, I looked at that vessel and its sail, it was badly beaten and torn. So they had really gotten a good beating and ended up at Little Ragged Island. The incident of the most recent in South Andres, that particular vessel was one of two vessels that we, along with the United States Coast Guard, were monitoring and seeking to intercept. what we have is the Haitian vessels destined for the United States of America. Often when they reach the Key Sal Banks, which is still in our sovereignty, the United States would assist us. They would make those interceptions, but by the shipwright agreement that we have with the United States government, we are obligated to receive those migrants. But if you pay attention to where those interceptions occur, anywhere around the Key Sal Banks, Anguilla Key, Elbow Key, those vessels would have been destined for the United States of America. And so that vessel with just under 400 persons on board, that was being monitored. The United States Coast Guard made a determination with respect to the safety of life at sea, and they engaged that vessel in our waters, and subsequently we had to accommodate receiving those migrants who are now at Greater Nagua. The landing at St. Andrews, that was a second target that we were paying attention to. That target had entered into the Cuban territorial seas, and our informant intelligence told us that there were 100 persons on board that vessel, and had left Haiti, 100. The United States Coast Guard obtained approval from the Cuban government to engage that vessel in their territorial seas. Some 40 migrants were moved or removed from that Haitian sailing sloop. The remainder objected, and they were left on board. So the Coast Guard vessel extracted and took the 40 with them, and I assume they made a direct repatriation to Haiti. Unknowingly, that vessel was allowed to proceed, and that was the vessel that we all tried to reacquire a position on. We weren't able to, and hence that vessel ended up landing. That vessel too was badly beaten and torn in the better conditions. So I'm not really convinced that the Bahamas was the intent. But again, another cold front came through and would have forced them in our waters. Generally, the security environment is very dynamic, and we have to respond as the threat changes their tactics. Once you're successful in stemming a particular trend or practice that they're using, like any criminal organization, they'll adjust. And it takes some time for us to realize the adjustment made. And so the aerial coverage that we use between United States Coast Guard C-130, the Orbat Hilo, and our aircraft for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance patrol seeks to determine what the shifts in the tactics may be and what measures we need to take. But generally, our countermeasures, our maritime security plan is simply to deter, deny, and detain. Dissuade those transnational criminal organizations from their activities, deny them access from using the Bahamas for criminal activities, and if they do, to disrupt the activity. Our strategy is maritime domain awareness. We want to know who is in our sovereign waters at any time. Maritime domain control, we want to control access to our waters. Maritime domain dominance, we want to dominate that space with our aircrafts, our patrol vessels, and all of the technology that we're using. But we're not doing it alone. Our most valuable resource is our relationships with our national and regional partners. That is the strength of our relationship, sharing all of our resources. We have one common space, using it as a force multiplier. Our operational plan is seek to have decentralized, intelligence-driven, and joint maritime interdiction operations. Our lines of effort, straightforward, 3 items. With respect to maritime domain awareness, using all of the technology and building capacity and capabilities with our intelligence capabilities, our communications capability, and our maritime interdiction efforts. Maritime domain control, the decentralization of our operations will afford that effectiveness in our operations. And in institutional capacity building, that's when we seek in terms of maintenance, logistics, and administrative capabilities, along with our humanitarian assistance and disaster relief capabilities, significantly enhancing those capabilities. But what do we need to do differently? We've analyzed that last incident. We've looked at the gaps from our aircraft reconnaissance patrols, the areas where our vessels patrols, and lessons learned. And we realize we have to exercise greater organizational agility. We have to be as agile as those transnational criminal networks operate. And we need to shift and reposition our surface and air assets appropriately based on what we see the shift made by those criminal organizations. More importantly, the assumption that every vessel departing from Haiti is destined for the Bahamas. And so, we must remain resolved. We must complete those cases as we get the intelligence and we know that those vessels are there until either the Turks and Caicos Island, either the United States government or the Cuban government actually detain those persons. We have to assume that they're heading towards the Bahamas. With respect to maritime domain of Venice, some persons would question the utility of the coastal radar at HMBS Matthew Town. A radar in and of itself, a single radar or coastal radar, has significant benefits, but it also has its limitations. I wouldn't say what the effective maximum range is, but those criminals more than likely know what the range is, and that is why they hug their coast to avoid detection. But a single radar can be effective. Turks and Caicos, they do a wonderful job because it's really one land mass that any of those contacts are heading towards, the coastal radar would pick it up. Similarly, we had a positive case with here in New Providence, the radar at HMBS Coral Harbor. Any vessel approaching the southern end of New Providence, unlike what used to happen in the past, will have extreme difficulty reaching New Providence because of that coastal radar. If we are unable to identify who you are, we consider you to be a target of interest, and we'll send our assets out and intercept you. And we must exude completeness. We must resolve those intelligence cases that we get. We must ensure completeness and thoroughness. We cannot stop until either of those vessels are actually stopped and those migrants detained. I take any questions.
Good afternoon, sir. Is there any concern that, persons fleeing from Haiti are, specifically like fleeing gang violence there?
Yes, we always we are always concerned about that. We have acquired technology, biometric technology from the United States that we use, and we have portable scanners. And when we interact with those persons, that is one of the profiling we do to see who they are and whether they're in the system. And so we are guarding against who we actually detain and who's entering the Bahamas from our perspective.
Has anybody, any notorious criminals or any notorious Haitian criminals ever come up as trying to, or has ever been intercepted by the Bahamas?
Not recently, but in the past, because I would have been as a more junior officer in command of platforms, where I've made arrests, and when we ran the names, there were persons who were criminals and who were wanted. And even so, I came across Bahamians who were wanted by the police and absconded to Haiti and sought to return on those Haitian vessels. So it actually occurs.
I know you would have obviously said that there were lessons learned from the recent incident, and I know officials have previously said that the country can expect to see an influx in the days ahead based on what's happening. But do you feel as though that the force is capable to handle this influx that is bound to happen?
The thing is, we have responded effectively for the past 3 years. Our strategy has worked. In terms of capacity, No country has all of the resources that it needs. And that is why relationships are so important. Working with our national partners, our regional partners, we work jointly. We share resources, aerial reconnaissance, surface patrols. And so the concern is always there, because one landing is too many. And so, but we are not deterred. We have done a very good job, but we must continue to stay disciplined, but we have to respond as those shifts occur. Criminals will always shift their operations once you're able to stop what they're doing. And we've been able to do that, I'd say, for the last 3 years. You could probably count on one hand how many landings actually made it to, I won't talk about uninhabited, but a habited island in the Bahamas.
Sir, go ahead. Sir, I hear you keep saying that, you've been successful in intercepting or deterring these vessels from coming to Bahamas in partnership with the surrounding community. But still yet, the immigration minister, who I feel should have been here to answer some of these questions, is saying that we acknowledge after some time that we're in crisis. But what is being done to sort of change this problem, to address this problem? Because many are saying that, the government has invested millions of dollars in boats that, they want to know where these boats are. How come it is that these vessels are coming all the way from the southern Bahamas as far as Andros?
You need to understand the context of the environment. Let's use Inagua. Those vessels are evading the coastal radar that is there. The intent is, in terms of communication and maritime domain of Venice, we have our second radar at HMBS Coral Harbor. The third one is about to be installed in Ragged Island. There are 9 approved by the United States government to be subsequently installed. Those coastal radars will give you overlapping coverage, and then that is when it all comes together. But the distance between Machu Town, Inagua, and Ragged Island is over 200 nautical miles. The distance between Ragged Island and South Andros is about another 100 miles. And so when you have vessels, they move along the northern coast of Haiti and then Cuba. In most cases, unless, and we do get the intel from the Cuban Border Patrol, and they would give us, and they would update us accordingly. But the expanse of water on the range is significant, all right? And that is why we work together, because we have the Orbat Hilo, we have the Coast Guard vessels at the Windward Passage who are operating off the coast of Haiti. And at any one time, we have 6 vessels moving in and around the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, as well as our aircraft on a daily basis. But we based it on intel. We receive reliable intelligence. But when you have a vessel moving along the coast of Cuba, all along, unsurprisingly, they decide to move northwards because of weather or whatever. It takes a while to catch that, because you may not have intelligence on it, or you may have patrolled another sector. And so we have to shift our resources. The Bahamas is very porous. We have a number of shipping lanes. You have the old Bahama Channel, the Santorini Channel, the New Providence Channel, and the Northeast Channel. You have the Maguana Passage, the Crooked Island Passage. It's very porous. And we are a family of islands. We are an archipelago. And I want to commend the men and women of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force for the job that they've done during that time. And I've been in this organization 36 years. And I know the challenges we face with frequent landings almost every night. But we continue to remain resolved. We continue to work extremely hard. And we're not even at 100% capacity. We're still trying to bring a number of our vessels on stream. because of generator problems that we're trying to overcome. So we haven't even really exhausted our capacity. And as we decentralize, we incorporate those communication technologies. When we are able to realize the drone technologies in those strategic sites and on board our vessels, we will become more effective. But it's difficult. We're talking about over 100,000 square miles of water on an archipelago. And it takes a while for you to realize the shift the criminal organization would have made in order for youth now to stem any further tide. I look at the United States. They have coastal radars all along their coast. There are aircraft and aerial reconnaissance all patrolling up and about the Florida Straits. The Coast Guard vessels off the northern coast of Haiti, along the Bahamas Channel, in the Florida Straits. And if you could recall, over the last several weeks, they've had a number of successful landings to their shorelines. And that's a developed country with enormous resources as compared to the Bahamas. And I want to commend our men and women for the job they would have done.
That was a significant interception.
400 migrants. What is the complement of officers and Marines that you have on the Defense Force? Is that sufficient? Are you concerned?
At this current moment, what we have is adequate. But as we continue to decentralize, there is a strategic plan. We would have to recruit more. I've placed before the government a package to acquire additional safe boats. We're in the procurement process now to acquire a second roll-on, roll-off vessel, a 62-meter patrol craft. I've placed a package to acquire additional aircraft. There's an infrastructural upgrade package that we are completing now for the Honorable Minister, for the government to seek funding from public-private partnership investments. But as we continue to build out, we would need additional manpower. We would need additional resources. And those strategic packages have already been placed before the Honorable Minister for the government's consideration.
How concerned are you?
The health? We're always concerned. I remember early on in my career, as a young officer, making enormous number of arrests, and one time I was tested and I came up positive for TB. I was interacting with those migrants, and I was a young officer, so I know the reality is there. So, but we have safeguards in place. We have personal protection equipment, and we have orders to guide those ships companies at sea. Okay. Thank you.
We're going to invite now the Assistant Director of Immigration, Rudolph Ferguson, to come and give us his update. I know one of the reporters thought that the minister should be here. The minister was here on Tuesday at the press briefing on Tuesday with reporters. Assistant Director.
Thank you very much, Clint. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here to speak to you and, by extension, the wider Bahamian community. When you talk about the Immigration Department and what we do, okay, we is one of those agencies within the Bahamas national security that deals with the movement of persons, foreign persons, through our borders. Simply means that we have legal migration and maybe illegal migration. I want to speak firstly to the position of persons who enter our borders legally. These are individuals who enter either through the Prince George Wharf, that is going through a tremendous facelift presently, or the Lynden International Airport. Not to mention, we have Grand Bahama, Eleuthera, Exuma, and the rest of our Bahamas. As the Commodore adequately spoke about the maritime logistics in our makeup as an archipelago, we also have private vessels, pleasure vessels, coming to our shores legally. And they all are manned, and all of these facilities are manned by immigration officials. I also want to thank our officers through the length and breadth of our country because they're doing a human's job. Now to the vexing problem of that illegal migration or irregular migration that is so hot topic here in our community today. I believe that our Commodore would have laid out and unpacked a very strategic plan as it relates to the migrants. My job here this morning really is to tell you what happens and how do we respond once they have been intercepted and turned over to us. As also equally being explained that we had landing on Tuesday of last, we've had a landing on Wednesday, and all of these matters, and I'm referring to the ones that were taken into Inagua, the ones that were taken into South Andros, the Bluff South Andros, and the ones that were dealt with from the Bimini area. Presently, let's deal and speak specifically to Inagua. We have an excess of 300 migrants that is personally in our custody. That custody is being security purposes by both Immigration and Defense Force personnel, accompanied by the Royal Bahamas Police Force. All of the Bahamian forces are involved in this joint national effort. Every effort will be what is being made to screen those individuals by the Ministry of Health. We, to date, have no reports of any negative health issues that is taking place in Inagua at this time. Every effort is being made through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in dialogue with the Haitian authorities who still exist in order to repatriate these individuals at the earliest possible time. I've been advised that I could almost comfortably say that within a week's time, that the Inagua situation will be resolved. We now move to the Bluff Eleuthera. After receiving intelligence and information of possible landing in that area, in conjunction with our colleagues in the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, we dispatched officers there immediately that very evening. And that forces were augmented the following morning by additional resources of Immigration and Defense Force officers on the ground. Presently, they're still on the ground, doing what we call a full court press. It simply means that we were left no stone unturned until we are satisfied that we would have got all of those individuals in custody. And so this morning, I'm here just to have the conversation with you. I'll tell you what we're doing, how we intend to police our borders, whether it's at Lynden Pinnill International Airport or at our Prince George Wharf. I'm open for conversation.
Up to this morning, how many migrants have been apprehended so far from Andros?
And we have approximately 41 migrants in custody and from South Andros. Some of those individuals have since been transported to the capital here in Nassau, and the remainder we have in custody simply because it's an ongoing investigation.
How many more are you still looking for?
We're looking for not only, when we do these joint operations, not only persons coming who we suspect to be coming by boat, but anybody who's in our territory who does not have legal status. We will then have that conversation with them. We will interview them, and they will violate any of our laws. They will be dealt with.
So how many people are you looking for?
Whomever we come in contact with through our investigations and intelligence process, and they do not have legal status, whether you arrive by boat or otherwise, they will be dealt with by the fullest extent of the law.
Okay. The illegal immigration problem extends beyond the borders. You know, the government has now acknowledged that we have a crisis that many persons have been saying for quite some time. But there is a problem here in Providence that seems not to be much concerned as it is with as opposed to the influx of these Haitians. A lot of them are here in New Providence, and there seems to be a growing problem, tension growing among residents and the Haitian community. People also complaining of environmental issues, health issues. These are some of the things that many persons are asking to be addressed.
I agree with you. I've heard those same comments as well. From an immigration perspective, we have officers on the ground on a daily basis. Again, working in conjunction with our national partners and international partners. Commodore King would have alluded to the fact that the biometric technology that is being employed, along with other equipment. And we on the ground every day east, west, north, and south. And we are making a significant impact. Wherever we found that you follow the law, the immigration process, we take you into custody and you're prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Are you able to speak to efforts, I guess, officers would have made in terms of going into shanty towns perhaps to survey, how many people are living there, documented and undocumented? Because I think the minister would have said that he would have tasked immigration officers to go into these communities, as I know a shanty town force committee would have been formed.
Well, certainly, you quite right, I can't speak for the minister. Okay, if the minister would have said something, I'd leave it at that, ma'am. Okay.
Ms. Ferguson, at a recent press conference, we spoke about corruption within the immigration department. We've seen reports of illegals ending up with immigration documents and so forth. And this is something that also extends to the Department of Labor, where persons are getting documents to say that they're needed in the country. We spoke to this at a recent press conference. What is the status? Because I was told personally that there was supposed to have been some prosecutions. What is the status of that?
Again, interesting question. Wherever, and we're all a family, in every family, we have the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm not making any light or fun of anybody. But I will say this, where any immigration officer is found in breach of the law, the full weight of the law will be brought against that individual. We do not condone illegal activities within our ranks. Again, if and when they are investigating, they found that they're in contravention of any illegal, any activities, they will be brought before the courts, and the courts then will decide their innocence or guilty. We're very transparent. We don't want to hide, okay? There are allegations out there. We don't live in a bubble. And there are active police investigations going on right now, and the chips will fall where they may.
The police investigation, can you expand on that?
There are police investigations going on.
Immigration officers are being investigated by police in relation to potential corruption, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if there is an allegation of any kind of offense, okay, by officers of the Bahamas Immigration Department, those allegations or those complaints will be referred to the police and they will investigate. And the chips will fall where they may.
Anything before it's just police?
Again, sir, we will find in due course what is there. I cannot speak to that.
Mr. President, apart from these recent interceptions, is your department out every day?
Every day.
For illegal?
We have an enforcement team, and we work along with our national and international partners, and we are making arrests every day of illegal migrants throughout the length and breadth of the Bahamas.
Is it? Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I think an important question was asked, and he didn't address it. Those 35-foot sloop vessels traditionally carry about 45 to 60 migrants on board. We were reliably informed that there were 100 persons on board that vessel. The United States Coast Guard removed 40. And so we now know that we're looking for 60. We would have apprehended 2/3 of that amount. We would have sighted, using the drone technology, those persons deep in the wooded area. And so we're trying to reacquire their location this morning. And so the balance, we'll be monitoring, but we won't leave until we extract those persons. That's Andres.
I'm going to ask you for the compliment. Could I get a compliment of your officers?
Right now it's 1,700.
Thank you. Thank you, Commodore, and of course, Assistant Director, for giving us those information. All right, so let's move on now to talking about blood, which has been the topic. And sometimes it's unfortunate these incidences bring up crucial needs and importance, talking about the importance of blood donation. I think it's important to zero in on that. And so Crystal Bain-Simonet, who's a senior medical technologist, and Mario Williams, supervisor of PMH's blood bank and transfusions, will come and talk to us regarding that. Welcome and thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mario Williams. I'm the supervisor for the blood bank and transfusion services at the Princess Margaret Hospital. This is my senior technologist, Mrs. Crystal Bain-Simonet, who is in charge of the services in blood bank at this time. And Ms. Simonet will start.
Good morning, everybody. Just to share just a few facts about blood in general. Blood is something that cannot be replaced. It cannot be, there's no substitute for blood. Blood must be donated. It cannot be created. It cannot be manufactured. There's no replacement for blood except if somebody donates the blood. One thing that a lot of persons don't realize, blood has a short shelf life. So blood expires within 5 weeks or 35 days. So regardless if it's used or not used, within a 5-week period, that blood will no longer be available. And we rely on our voluntary donors, those are the donors who will come without coercion or without any type of event. And they come and they will give their blood voluntarily. We depend on persons such as our hospital administrator, Mrs. Mary Walker, to come in and donate regularly. And now the question is, who can donate? Persons are eligible to donate at the age of 17 years of age. However, if somebody is 16 years of age, they can donate with parental or guardian consent. And anybody who is in general good health is usually eligible to donate blood. Most of the persons who are deferred or who are ineligible to donate blood at the time of screening usually are deferred for health-related reasons, such as elevated blood pressure, below normal hemoglobin, other health-related reasons. We also have to defer based on sometimes travel history, sometimes based on the medication the person is on, and we also have to consider other questions related to lifestyle factors. The blood donation process is a relatively simple process. Once you come into the blood bank, we confirm that you would have had a meal close enough to the time of donation. We give you a health questionnaire form. It's called a donor health questionnaire. And I know a lot of persons, especially those who come regularly, it's a bit tedious for them to fill out the form, but it's important for us to have that information as it helps us to identify those donors who are ineligible at that time. And that form is also important because it gives us consent to use that blood for the treatments of patients. And once you fill out the questionnaire, we do a pre-donation health screening, which we check your blood pressure, we check your hemoglobin, we check your pulse, and we ask questions related to the questionnaire. And once this process is complete, we send you over to be bled, and you will donate a pint of blood. The thing is, a lot of persons may also try, but only 70% actually pass the general health screening to even donate a pint of blood. But once that blood is donated, we test it, process it, and make it available to transfusion medicine to be used for the treatment of patients. And Mr. Williams will give some insight as to what happens once that blood is sent to him on the transfusion medicine side.
Thank you. Once we would have received the blood or blood products from blood bank, they're deemed to be safe to be able to be issued and transfused to patients in our hospital or wherever those patients may be. We have patients that are in the geriatric hospital, or we have patients that may be in a private institution, and they can also get their that service done. We get a requisition, usually signed by a doctor, and they would request a number of services, whether they are getting services for packed cells, services for platelets, or what we call plasma, fresh frozen plasma. Those are the three products that come out of one donation of blood, and that is why usually say 1 unit of blood can save 3 lives. We also have a fourth component that comes from the plasma itself. If the doctors or clinicians during course of treatment for a patient sees that they need that particular component, we can go to that component, but that's not regularly produced. It's usually by special request. Our demand is often greater than the supply that we get. The amount of requests for the use of blood and blood products really is very high. The reality of the use and distribution of products, however, is that not every requisition that is made will probably be serviced and on an automatic basis. We have to determine which set of requisitions will be dealt with first and how best to serve those patients who are in most need of the products that we have. We have, let's say, requisitions coming from A&E all the time. And, you know, those requisitions will be marked, some of them urgent, urgent, urgent. But suffice to say, when we get sampling from patients, it may differ as to how you deal with certain requisitions. A sample comes and it might be that, okay, this particular patient looks like he could be all right, but we need to check with hematology on the hemoglobin to say that particular patient might not be dealt with as soon as this patient here, because this patient looks like they need it more. We rely, however, on the clinician to call into us and to say, this is what we need, and this is how we'd like for it to be serviced. So whatever we have within the blood bank. Now, there are times when requisitions come in for the blood bank, for the intertransfusion services, and we say, okay, we have so many units of blood here to work with, and they will say, we need 6 units, something like that. We'll say to them, okay, we can prepare this amount, and we can have this available for you, and if there's more, then we deal with it in that fashion. However, with regards to other patients, sometimes emergency cases kick in. You have other emergencies that will probably come in to play, and then the same units of blood that we have prepared here, we have to take those same units of blood and then prepare them for patients here. Okay? So everybody, we may have 4 patients that will potentially be ready to access those units, but usually it would be those that the clinicians would then say, these are the patients that will be going into surgery, these are the patients that are needing this blood, and this is how you are going to send those to us and use it. So with regards to how blood bank can supply us, then we will be able to adequately service the needs of our patients.
Questions?
You mentioned, like, what sort of lifestyle factors would preclude somebody from donating blood?
Sometimes smoking close to the time of donation. Travel, like I said, travel history, that's not really lifestyle. But sexual history is something that we do have to ask about. Because if somebody is deemed as high risk, we have to defer that person for the safety of the patient. Because there are times where everything does not show up in the testing because of a window period. So if somebody is deemed to be high risk, we will have to, out of the safety of the patient, defer based on some aspects of the sexual history.
So
Tattoos?
I saw something, somebody asked a question, whether men who have sex with men can donate blood. Is that, can they?
That's a part of it, yes, and that is actually a global standard. Some countries are relaxed on that, but we follow standards set by the World Health Organization, and they have maintained that particular point of deferral. So we will follow those guidelines until otherwise indicated.
So that's a no, that they cannot. Yeah.
It is recommended that you do not accept, yes.
No, I'm saying persons with tattoos can't donate, right?
Persons with tattoos are able to donate, but they are deferred for a period of 12 months. And that's based on our testing as well. Like I mentioned, certain things may not show up in testing right away, but if you, for instance, would have received any blood-borne pathogen or illness through a contaminated needle, within a 12-month period, it will be detected or will be showing up symptomatic in the individual.
Okay, so with all of the crime happening in the country and all of these shootings, you have 4 patients in hospital waiting for blood. Somebody comes in, shot. What happens then? You make the determination to take the blood that those 4 patients needed.
The situation will determine that we do that. Somebody comes in shot up, somebody comes in critical, they need to be tended and addressed immediately. Those persons may be rushed into the emergency room immediately. And so you have to provide whatever you have there for urgency to try to help that person survive. There's no way around it.
So is it okay to say that these are some of the incidents that are impacting the blood supply at the Princess Margaret Hospital? And we tend to see most of this over the weekend when most criminal activity occurs.
Morning, I will assist the team. Mary Light Bonwalker, Hospital Administrator. Please accept my apologies for my stature. Yes, we do have to respond to every need, and the physicians are the persons who make that determination and guide the directions to the blood bank and also transfusion medicine. The need for blood products over the entire year is our main focus. Every month, we need donors. Every month of the year. There are 12 months in the year, and so we need a consistent blood supply. And if there's anything I need to say here is just join the bandwagon. We have members of our management team and our nursing fraternity and physicians who donate blood regularly. They're gonna grab me soon because I'm due. So you actually can donate 4 times a year, and you should. Save a life. Another question?
Somewhat. Do you all, and I don't know if you're doing it now, but say I have a relative in hospital, and the family wants to donate. Does that blood go to that relative?
So one of the first questions they ask when you come and you go filling out that questionnaire that they have, they'll say to you or ask you, are you here to donate for someone specifically? Once you indicate that, that is recorded on the unit that is being donated. If you are just a regular donor, your name is on the unit as a donor. But you can have targeted donations, as well as we also entertain you having a donation ahead of time for your own self.
Is there a count on how much blood can the blood bank hold, or how much donors needed to fill the blood bank?
say that because you actually wouldn't want to fill the blood
Yeah.
bank.
When is the last time that actually happened?
Okay. The blood bank, we have a certain storage capacity. Of course, it's never exhausted. But the main thing is we want persons to donate spread out throughout the year. We don't want you to saturate the blood bank right now and then next month when the blood expires, it's not there. And so the whole idea is let's just try to encourage persons to give regularly throughout the year. So we don't have to, and like I said, the storage is never exhausted. We have both storage in the blood bank area as well as the transfusion medicine area. So that's never going to be an issue of oversaturation.
People are asking, will the donation hours be extended for those who come after work?
Well, that's an administrative question. Yes.
And that actually is totally driven by the availability of personnel, and we are attempting to expand the personnel at this time. We also be minded, though, that persons have to be qualified to be in that area.
Drive going on, tell us about that.
Okay. On Saturday, January the 28th, there will be a blood drive at the BTC corridor in the mall at Marathon. Donations will start from 10 until 4. And we encourage all persons to come out. We're trying to increase our voluntary donor pool. And so this is one of the opportunities that we take to do that, to go out in the community and host blood drives in conjunction with other organizations. So we do encourage you to come out on Saturday to lend your support to the blood bank.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the work that you're doing to be able to give life and preserve life. We're almost at the top of the hour, so I'm going to move real quick with any announcements I have, any further questions. Just announcement, the Prime Minister, Philip Davis, returned to the capital from Argentina on Wednesday, where he attended the Community of Latin American States Conference, better known as CELAC. During those talks, Prime Minister Davis engaged with the regional leaders to discuss issues including political strife in Haiti and its implications for the Bahamas and the region. Prime Minister Davis continuing to emphasize the need for a regional response to Haiti's multifaceted issues. Prime Minister Davis also discussed a proposal for the Bahamas to expand its maritime business in South America on the sidelines as well during that conference there. Any other questions from our colleagues before we bring our featured vendor for the week? Any other questions? Just let me know.
Could you say, at this point right now, what has the communication been between the government, foreign affairs, and Haiti?
No, I can't say. I know there are ongoing discussions. I know the question was asked, is there a challenge with them when we repatriate them accepting? It's not. We're told that when we do repatriations, Haiti normally responds very quickly, and that's still in place. Even though they have challenges with their government, that's still in place.
I want to ask, I think next month, the Bahamas is supposed to be hosting the CARICOM meeting.
Correct.
I want to get an update on preparations for that, how many representatives from different countries are supposed to attend.
Sure.
Yes.
You're a week early. We're going to do the CARICOM press conference next week here, next week Thursday, to tell you a lot more about it. But what I can just tell you off the top, they've been meeting every week, and now they're meeting every day as they come closer. Multi-sectoral committee from various agencies throughout the government. It's expected to be a very interesting CARICOM. From what we're hearing, we're expecting full support from country heads in the region. Bahamas is a great destination, and not just because it's a great destination, but because of what's on the agenda, a lot of these critical issues. We are expecting heads from just about every Caribbean nation here in the Bahamas, but we'll update more on that next week.
I just want to say if the Marlowe race competitions are underway, or what's going on with that, because I know they want to be prepared for that CARICOM.
No update on that as yet from what I said last week. Nothing new this week yet.
Hi, Glenn Howard. Hi, hey, sorry. Glenn, how are you doing today? Just wanted to ask you, there was a report that was going around saying that you were appointed a consultant at ZNS. I WhatsApped you to ask you about it, didn't get a reply, so I wanted to ask you.
I thought you were answered. From what I saw, I thought you were answered. But I'll say it again, publicly since you're asking. I am the press secretary of the Office of the Prime Minister. That has not changed. That is what I do. ZNS is going through an improvement and upgrade in their news department. They're pulling on expertise from myself, having been able to have done a successful term with Eyewitness News. I'm assisting them and helping them to be able to do that. As press secretary, BIS and ZNS are part of our portfolio. They come under the office of the Prime Minister. So I'm doing what I do every day, trying to fulfill my job description and helping people the same way. No, it is not. It is not a paid assignment, no.
Question is it a conflict of interest though? Because, we as news organizations, we compete with ZNS. We don't compete with BIS, that's something separate.
Right, good question. ZNS would probably think that you get more favoritism than they do with stories and so forth. No, there is no interference. We are not interfering on that level. We're trying to help them with the upgrade and restructure. We play by the same rules. And as you can imagine, how people feel when they think I came from Eyewitness News and Eyewitness just gets all the scoops. No, we play, that's not our mandate, not our focus. We're just trying to help out. Sorry? Sure. Can help you. I'm always open, especially in this industry. Let's help each other out. Yeah.
Can we get an exclusive sit down with Mr. Davis, the Guardian?
You put us in there right now. Listen, that's what the press office is for. We take your requests and we put those requests before it. Thanks, Jared. Yes.
I was just basically saying, so those reports then were obviously.
Yeah, no, them things was, no, I'm not being transferred. I'm not getting a consultant job, being paid. No, it's all a part of the day's work.
I just want to understand exactly the clarity what you're saying. You're saying that you've not been transferred, but you're working along with BIS and ZNS to do some transformational upgrade or whatever. So in what capacity are you doing this? I mean, because you're still in the Office of the Prime Minister. I understand ZNS comes under the Office of the Prime Minister, which many persons among ourselves feel there is a conflict of interest with regards to the dissemination of information. In what capacity?
Okay, so let me help you with the dissemination of information. Whenever you call me for a story or information, I assist you. I don't give anybody preferential treatment. The press office is here to assist all of you. Had there been concerns before, people would have mentioned them before. I have assisted other organizations, and I have assisted before, and there's never been a concern or an issue. We try to operate with integrity. We will continue to serve you here at the press office, and that doesn't come with favoritism or anything of the sort. We continue to try and do our best to serve the media, to make sure that we have, under this administration, been able to better your conditions, better your opportunities for interviews, and we will continue to do just that. Anybody else? Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there is. I don't know. You can probably ask that next week when they come to talk about it at the press conference. Yeah. All right. Let's get to our feature of the week. We are always happy to help Bahamian businesses, food businesses who are making a difference, people who are launched out to do what they have to do. And of course, this week is no different. We have represented today Harvest Cafe. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy what they have for you to sample on the outside. And Alexandria Morley heads that up, and she's here. Come, Alexandria, tell us quickly about Harvest Cafe and what we're going to be sampling today. And aren't y'all happy that can still continue? You're going to still get samples every day? Come on, come on.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alexandria Morley. I am the proprietor of Harvest Cafe and Deli. My company was established September 21. This company is something I've always wanted to launch, but I've never had the time to put pen to paper until the pandemic came around. I then was on furlough from my job. My vision then represented itself to me that this is the perfect time to step out on my faith. That became the birth of Harvest Cafe. At Harvest Cafe, we offer a wide array of healthy eating options such as turkey burgers, salads, smoothies, wraps. Also, for the not-so-boring side, we offer delectable French toast, omelets, and waffles. We are located Soldier Road West in the Soldier Road Shopping Center. Our hours are 8:30 a.m. Monday to Friday and 8:30 a.m. on Saturday to 3:30 p.m. Today we brought for you guava and cream cheese French toast, fresh berry salads, chicken wraps, salmon wraps. We also would like to take the time out to say thank you for inviting us. We appreciate this opportunity.
Did you say what you got in there, Leo? Yes. I missed that. What do you got? Say it again. Say it twice.
We have guava and cream cheese French toast. We have salmon wraps. We have fresh berry fusion salads. We have fresh smoothies over there.
That's what the press office does do for all of you. That's what we're going to fatten you up. Thank you. That's our press conference this week. We'll see you next week. Continue to reach out to us if you need any assistance. Good afternoon, everyone.